StarCraft is well known for its storytelling. It tells stories of love, betrayal, redemption, and sacrifice, and has a wide array of characters that each have their own unique personalities and characteristics that help paint an amazing picture. But there is something about Tassadar that stands out amongst the rest. Tassadar is a Protoss High Templar, known for his wisdom, leadership, and unwavering dedication to the greater good. But when you play this game for the first time, you seem to understand all of this before you are actually introduced to him in the Protoss campaign, only then to eventually realize that you may have actually underestimated him. In this video, I'll be reviewing his story as we go through the game, and I'll be breaking down the integral moments that define his character and our perception of him, and how Blizzard brilliantly began his story before we even realize. We are first introduced to the Protoss after we complete the Terran mission, the Jacobs installation. We are told that after the planet Marsara had been evacuated, the Protoss fleet wiped out all life on the planet's surface. This tells us a few things about the Protoss. They are mysterious. They don't care for Terran borders or boundaries. They mean business. But when the Zerg are drawn to attack the Terran homeworld Tarsonis, the Protoss don't do a planetary bombardment like they did on Marsara. They actually go down to the surface and fight with the Zerg up front, which I find to be an interesting choice. The most logical move would have been to wipe out all life on the planet's surface from orbit. That would have been the least risky choice they could have made, and it would have saved a huge amount of their soldiers' lives. There are only two reasons why I can think they would have made this choice. The first is that they don't want to fight two enemies, most importantly, the Terran fleet. And it was simply a better choice to be allied or at least neutral with the Terrans. But once Minsk attacks the Protoss, they could have just withdrawn their troops and done the planetary bombardment. So I don't think that was the reason. The second reason is they value Terran life to some degree. They'll go to war with them if need be, but eradicating billions of civilian lives seems to be a line that they, at least for this mission, won't cross. And I wonder why that is. We first meet Tassadar in the Zerg mission, the Dark Templar. He tells Kerrigan,
"I know of you well, O Queen of the Zerg, for we have met before. I am Tassadar of the Templar. I remember your selfless exploits, defending humanity from the Zerg. Unfortunate it is to see that one who was once so honorable and full of life would succumb to the twisted wiles of the Overmind."
It appears the second reason was correct, at least for Tassadar. After the Protoss base is defeated,
"Where are you, Tassadar? Do your underlings always do your fighting for you?"
"This shall be our battleground, O Queen. Face me here, and I will defeat you myself."
Tassadar lures Kerrigan to the center of the map to battle each other one-on-one, but it is a trick to distract her, and after the battle, Kerrigan finds out that a Cerebrit, which is basically a Zerg brain that controls a portion of the Zerg army, was permanently killed, something thought to be impossible up until that point by the Zerg. But the Protoss figured out how to kill Cerebrits and stop the reincarnation process, which tells us something new about Tassadar. He is cunning. The battle continues between Tassadar and Kerrigan, as well as a Dark Templar named Zeratul, who we really don't know anything about at this point in the game. But ultimately the Zerg are victorious and discover the location of the Protoss homeworld, Ire, and head there. The next piece of information we learn about Tassadar is at the beginning of the first mission of the Protoss campaign. Your role is that of Executor, and Judicator Aldaris tells you that the former Executor was none other than Tassadar himself. Aldaris tells us that Tassadar was commanded to halt the Zerg progress in the Terran sector by burning human worlds. So it was Tassadar's decision to not burn Tarsonis. Aldaris says Tassadar has failed us. You must not. So we already had the image that Tassadar was a noble and honorable figure, and we now know that he is rebellious too, that he'll fight for what he believes is right. Finally, we get to see Tassadar at the end of the first mission. Aldaris goes on about how Tassadar has caused him to lose faith in the Templar, and Tassadar comes in and says this,
"Indeed, Aldaris. I would hope that the Judicator would put more faith in their Templar brethren."
Tassadar, where have you
Be
been?
silent, Judicator. There is no time to waste, and I have much to tell you. As you know, the Zerg vanished after the fall of the Terran world of Tarsonis, and though the Conclave bid me return home, I was compelled to remain. A powerful psionic call drew my attention to a remote barren world named Char. Apparently the call was answered by others as well. For upon Char, I encountered those who were once our brethren, the Dark Templar.
Consorting with the Fallen Ones is heresy.
Enough! Hear me, Executor, for I have learned much from the Dark Templar prelate, Zeratul. The Overmind controls its minions through agents called cerebrates. Strike down the cerebrates, and the swarms will surely fall.
I pray we can trust you, Tassadar. Already I can sense the taint of the Fallen One's influence on your mind. You must return to Ire at once.
My concern is for the safety of Ire, not the judgments of the Conclave. I will return when the time is right.
At this point in the story, the picture of Tassadar seems to be painted pretty well, and he seems to be a bit of a badass. A person of duty, but one who is not capitulating to the whims of those who would call themselves his superiors if he doesn't believe their judgment and logic to be sound. In the next mission, you take on a Zerg force and kill a cerebrate as discussed previously, but things go wrong. The cerebrate reincarnates.
It is as I feared. It was folly to believe Tassadar could be trusted. The Conclave will not soon forget his wanton betrayal. Nevertheless, we must stand resolute, for attacking defenseless cerebrates is not the way of true Protoss warriors. We shall overcome the entire swarm with the might and the fury that is our heritage.
It is clear to me at this point that the Protoss are an ancient race of beings who have some sort of warrior honor culture, and have deeply rooted traditions and beliefs, and do not like to stray from them. And Aldaris is the personification of these characteristics, whereas Tassadar seems to stand apart from them. He's willing to be insubordinate, to put his career and life in danger because of that, and he is willing to stray from tradition, to do whatever it takes for his species to survive, and that is admirable. In the following mission, we do indeed take on the Zerg, but it is a costly victory.
Executor, Antioch is under attack by overwhelming Zerg forces.
Praetor, you must hold your position for as long as possible. Fight on, brave Phoenix, and know that the gods watch over you. Entaro Adun.
The Conclave, which is a small group of elders that rule over the Judicators, believe the war with the Zerg is going well and don't believe we need to put much focus on them. So instead of ridding the Zerg from their world, they order Judicator Aldaris to hunt down Tassadar and bring him back to Ire to stand trial for his crimes of treason. Aldaris leaves for Char. Things get interesting when we finally find Tassadar.
Aldaris, Executor, how is it that you've come here? I was about to abandon all hope of rescue.
I have come to arrest you and bring you home to Ire to stand trial.
Arrest me? Ire burns at the touch of the Zerg. You travel all this way to arrest me?
Tassadar points out how egregious it is for the Conclave to waste resources tracking him down while their world is under attack from the Zerg, a threat that they were burning worlds for not so long ago, I might add. Tassadar then says,
Executor, wait. I do not know what they have told you about me, but what I have done for Ire. Help me find Zeratul and his Dark Templar. They alone can defeat the Overmind cerebrates. Once we have won, I shall gladly submit myself to the judgment of the Conclave.
So he's willing to turn himself in once the war is won. Another noble characteristic. He asks for our help in finding Zeratul, and we begin for the first time to actually have Tassadar as a playable character. Now this is where things really get interesting for me. In my previous StarCraft video where I talked about Arcturus Minx, I mentioned how he manipulated us. That was the whole point of the video, but a few people mentioned a very notable fact, and that is that ultimately you don't really have a choice, which means you can't really be manipulated because you you have no agency. You can't choose to do anything other than what Minsk and the missions tell us to do. My take is that the majority of people playing the game are probably going to be going along with the story, and would likely be making the same decisions the game would want you to make. But it is true that if you saw through Arcturus' manipulation attempts from the start, or at least earlier than the game wants you to, and that you therefore are being manipulated and are missing out on the experience the game wants you to feel. That's what's called ludonarrative dissonance, and it's an unavoidable reality of video games, because when our beliefs, opinions, and wants are different from what the game intends for us, we feel a separation from the immersion in the story, and the less agency you have in a game, the more likely you are to experience ludonarrative dissonance. I bring this up because although we don't have a say in the matter in working with Tassadar either, after hunting him down, knowing that siding with him is not going to look good to the Conclave, it's still 100% the decision I would have made. Throughout the game so far, the game has slowly built up our knowledge of Tassadar and the Protoss. Tassadar is an honorable person who is doing whatever it takes for his species and homeworld to survive. The Conclave is a bunch of ancient bureaucrats who can't see that their decisions are leading to the end of their civilization. Siding with Tassadar seems to be the only choice, had we actually had a choice. After we return with Tassadar and Jim Raynor, who are working together for some reason, which is another very interesting thing they've done here. We've been so caught up in the story StarCraft has been showing us that it's completely slipped my mind that there are likely other really interesting stories happening at the same time. It's a shame though that they never really do explain that side of the story though, at least not during the Protoss campaign. I was kinda disappointed by that. Aldaris and Tassadar confront each other during the mission briefing.
Ah, Tassadar, have you fallen so far? To think that you were our brightest hope, our most beloved son. Now you are everything that we are not. You are lost to us. Not only have you damned yourself, but you have damned those who have followed you.
Such is the price for our race's salvation, Judicator. I have been here with the Dark Templar these last few months. While I helped them in their fight against the Zerg, I learned many of their secrets from the prelate, Zeratul. Apparently, the energies which empower the Dark Templar also course through the Overmind and its cerebrates.
The same cerebrates which you told us to destroy. Your advice was useless, for the creature was reincarnated before our eyes.
Unfortunately, yes. Your attack on the Cerebrate failed because the energies that you wield are useless when used directly against the Overmind and its Cerebrates. Only the Dark Templar's power can truly harm the Zerg. That is why we must rescue Zeratul and return him to Ire.
You were warned, Executor. The Conclave will not be pleased.
With the knowledge that only the Dark Templar can permanently kill the Cerebrates, this explains his actions in more detail. And yet Aldaris will still not listen. In the next mission, we make our way to the entrance of some installation where Zeratul is being held, and we unceremoniously kill General Duke in the process. The next mission is a bit of a slog. I'm actually thinking of doing a separate video on it entirely because the level design is a bit off in my opinion. But since this isn't so much of a game dev video as it is a storytelling analysis, I'll let my critique of this mission go for now. Finally, we rescue Zeratul and the Dark Templar, and we learn a lot of information.
Greetings, Dark One. I have come to bring you home.
Greetings to you, mighty Tassadar. I knew that you would not forsake us. For in the time that you have spent with us, you have learned to value our ways and our methods. You have learned to channel our dark power, as well as that of your masters. And thus you alone have found completeness beyond the scope of the Kala. But I fear that the Conclave in its pride could never bring itself to welcome outcasts such as we.
Outcasts though you may be, it is your vision and courage that may yet save our homeworld from the swarm. I beg of you, Zeratul, return with us to Ire. Though they are petty and have in ignorance cursed your kind for generations, help me save our people.
Since our banishment long ago, we have never failed in our responsibility to Ire. Though it shall cause us great pain to see our homeland once more, we shall return with you, Tassadar. We will do what we can.
Through the story so far, we have found out there is quite a rift between regular Protoss society and the Dark Templar, and yet we find that Tassadar is greatly respected by Zeratul, that he learned their ways. Things begin to escalate at the beginning of the next mission. We find out that Zeratul is to be executed and Tassadar is to be arrested. The Conclave ignores the increasing Zerg threat and instead is focused on its hunt of Tassadar and Zeratul, and so in this mission, the goal is to destroy the heart of the Conclave. But just as we are winning, Tassadar asks us to stop.
Your warriors have engaged the enemy.
Eldaris, this madness must stop. The sight of my brethren slaughtering one another is more than I can stand. Though I fear you would doom us all, Eldaris, I surrender myself to the Conclave. End Taro Adun, Executor. Don't give up the fight.
Tassadar of the Templar, by your actions you have severed yourself from the mercy of your brethren. You refused to destroy the Terran worlds as was commanded. You have questioned time and time again the sacred will of the Conclave, and you have abandoned your home world in its darkest hour. Most grievous of all is that you have allied yourself with the blasphemous Dark Ones, and learned to utilize their profane powers in tandem with our own. What say you, O fallen Templar?
Eldaris, I submit myself to the Conclave's judgment. But know this, given the same choices again, I would surely have made them. I have sacrificed all that our world might live. I have sullied my honor. I have discarded my rank and standing. I have even broken our most ancient traditions. But never think that I would for one moment regret my actions. For I am Templar, and above all else, I have sworn to protect our homeworld till the end.
He can't stand to see his species fighting each other, and so he gives himself up, which I find very admirable. To me, this is another plus to his character, although the argument absolutely could be made that due to the dire circumstances on Ire, and the Conclave's blindness and adherence to their dying traditions, giving himself up was giving up the best chance the species had to survive. So I could also count that as a flaw, which is great actually, because every hero needs one. Achilles' flaw was his pride. Anakin's flaw was his fear of his loved ones dying. Hamlet's flaw was his overthinking and indecision, and Tassadar's flaw is his compassion. Aldaris finally confirms that not only did Tassadar not choose to eradicate a few Terran worlds, but he was disobeying orders by doing so. In the next mission, we have to rescue Tassadar, who is being held in a stasis cell. This mission makes us explore the idea further that Tassadar giving himself up for arrest was a flaw, because Phoenix and Raynor put their lives on the line to save him, and thanks to Zeratul and the Dark Templar, we do save him. But by the time we do, many more lives are lost on both sides. The reason they fought to save Tassadar was not only because they felt duty-bound to help such a noble person, but also because Tassadar was now set to be executed. And without him, his new abilities, and his relationship with Zeratul and the Dark Templar, the fate of Ire seemed dismal. With Tassadar rescued, and Zeratul and the Dark Templar on our side, it is finally time to take out the Cerebrits, and then take on the Overmind itself, which is the ruler of all the Zerg. Once we have defeated the Cerebrits with Zeratul, we go into our final briefing where Tassadar gives an epic speech.
Our plan worked perfectly. The Zerg defenses are broken, and the way to the Overmind is laid bare. The time for our stand has come. Indeed. My friends, this is our final hour. Not all of us may survive the coming conflict. Yet, death may be a blessing should we fail here. We seek now to destroy a foe that has ravaged its way across the universe, consuming all in its path. And now, it has reached the end of its long journey. The Overmind has come to destroy all that we hold dear and assimilate us into itself. And I say to thee, This shall not come to pass. Ire shall not fall. Executor, I stand ready.
The final mission of the Protoss campaign is intense, as we control both the Terran and Protoss forces against the might of the Zerg. After an arduous battle, we finally attacked the Overmind, but something that slipped my mind while playing this was that only Cerebrits could be destroyed with Dark Templar powers. It makes sense that the Overmind would need to be destroyed with these powers too, but Tassadar has already planned for this.
Executor, the Overmind has been weakened. I fear we have sustained severe damage ourselves. I will steer the Gantrathor into a collision course with the Overmind. If I can channel enough of the Dark Templar's energy through the hull of the Gantrathor, I should be able to bring swift death to the accursed abomination. Remember us, Executor. Remember what was done here today. May Adu watch over you.
Tassadar sacrificed himself and used the Dark Templar powers he learned from Zeratul to destroy the Overmind once and for all. Now, I can't say what happens after this. I don't think I ever actually made it through the Brood War campaigns as a kid, so I'm excited to play them next. Knowing Blizzard, I can see them doing something with Tassadar, like having him survive and becoming corrupted or something like that, and I really hope they don't do that. But if that does happen, what I'm about to say next may not end up being all that accurate. But as far as the original StarCraft campaign goes, Tassadar, in my opinion, is the perfect hero. He's what's called a classical hero. I love this archetype, and you really don't see it that much anymore. There's Captain Pike from Star Trek and Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, but other than those, I'm kinda drawing a blank right now. And Blizzard did a very good job in portraying that, from building up his character as early as the Terran campaign and continuing to build upon it. By the time we play as him, we are already on board with his decisions. At least, I was. And every time he talks, every dialogue just seems to build upon his already great character. Even his flaw was due to his compassion he felt for his brethren. When I decided to replay StarCraft, I didn't remember much at all. This is all basically like playing it for the first time for me. I caught on early that Tassadar was going to be a great character, but I didn't expect how much I'd end up admiring him by the end of the Protoss campaign. This just goes to show the power of storytelling in video games. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for this video. What do you think about Tassadar? I'm likely going to be doing a video on the Undead campaign of Warcraft 3 soon, as well as a video or two on my personal game development stuff, but after that I'll be coming back to do some more StarCraft videos, so if you have any character or story you'd like covered, let me know in the comments. If you liked this video and would like to see more videos like this one, and the ones I mentioned, please consider subscribing. Well, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.